Hi, and welcome everybody. This is the live Q&A panel for the Astrology Summit 3.0, Raising Consciousness and Deepening Your Spiritual Path. We are going to get started in about 5 minutes. But what we wanted to do is just pop on here early and say hello to those of you who have already joined us. So if you can go ahead and chat in your name and where you're calling in from, and I would love to hear from you if you've had a chance to watch any of the talks yet. Which one have you watched and what have you enjoyed so far? So would love to see. And I see that we're saying hi to some people already. Fantastic. Hi, Mary. It's very nice to see. And hi, Ali from New Orleans. Go ahead and just chat in your name, where you're calling in from, and which talk you've been able to listen to so far. And don't feel bad if you haven't. I know that brings up the whole school programming of feeling like you're behind. You're not behind. It's okay if you haven't watched any yet. Hi, B from Texas. Great to see you here. Hi, oh, that's Carolyn. That's you chatting to everyone. That's sweet. Hi, Deanna from Canada, and Edra from Palm Springs, and Jacqueline from Switzerland. Thanks for the seminar, says Cecilia. I have watched Rick, and it was fantastic. So glad to hear that. Jim in Vancouver, BC, listen to Carolyn Elliott. Amazing, very nice. Audrey from Alberta, loved it all. Wow, have you had a chance to watch all of it? That would be amazing. Angelique from Mount Shasta, California, I have not heard a talk yet. You have time. We have 48 hours with these speakers, so you have some time to tune in. Hello, Mary. I have listened to Rick's, and let's see, Lori from Alabama. Wendy saying hello to all. Catherine has watched Rick and Meru. Fantastic. And if you want to start chatting in your questions now, you can do so. So we'll be logging them. So if you do already have questions from the talks that you've listened to, we will take note of them and we'll ask them later. Alexis says, hi from Michigan, love you all. Constanza is saying hello from Chile. And we have, okay, Lita listened to Rick and Jennifer. Fantastic. Angelique says, is there any way to get access to Rick's talk? Of course there is. If you've registered for the event, you should have received an email that has the link to click on. And on that page, you'll see all 4 of these speakers. So you'll be able to just watch them or listen to the audio. So if you haven't received that email, just email us at support@astrologyhub.com and we'll make sure that you get that link. Again, that's support@astrologyhub.com. All right, for those of you just tuning in, we're going to get started in 2 minutes. We're just saying hello and loving to hear from all of you. Just chat in your name, where you're calling in from, and if you've been able to watch any of the talks so far, please let us know. Okay, Lena has listened to Rick, and let's see, hi, Anne and Azores. Hi from Azores, Adelaide. Okay, so Wanda has listened to Rick, Meru, and Jennifer. I've loved and learned I've learned from all so far. Fantastic. Make sure you text in your questions or chat in your questions. Mocha also watched all the talks. Hard to pick a favorite. I know. It's going to be like that all week long. It's amazing. Hi, Angelique. Hi, Paulette from Montreal. Carol from Michigan. Jody from Fox Lake. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, so Audrey has a question. We're going to note that for later, Audrey. Liz from New Orleans listened to Rick and Carolyn. Amazing. We'll listen to the rest for sure. Oh, Lita also listened to all the talks already. This is amazing, you guys. So great. Okay, Sandra, I have watched all of them. Great. And Carol listened to Rick, Meru, and Carolyn. Haven't had a chance to listen to any yet, but looking forward to them. They'll be a treat. Yes. All right, and Jody, I haven't had the time to get to the talks yet. Anne is saying hello to you, Rick. So happy to be here. Okay, everybody, we're going to get started in about 1 minute. Just saying hello to all of you who are joining in early. Chef Jemical in San Diego enjoyed you and Rick, then got inspired to look at his natal chart and then generated his human design. Thank you very much. That's fantastic. Rick, are you curious?
Always, about everything.
All right. Catherine, curious about your insight. Okay, Catherine, we're going to note that question. Rayora says, hi, listen to Rick and Carolyn is next on my list. I've listened to Rick for years, but Carolyn is new to me. Yes, and that's going to be one of the cool things about this event is you're going to get exposed to many new voices and faces and perspectives. So
Yeah.
Audrey says, Rick, you're so great. I listen to you all the time. Many thanks for the great talk. Thank you, Paul. All right, chat lag. Yes, there is a little bit of a chat lag, so put your questions in. It'll take a second for us to get them. Okay, Kay, just finished all 4 talks. Very awesome. Love it all. Have learned from every one of you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, Trin, that's so great. Trin is saying, currently listening to Carolyn, looking into Saturn as we speak. All right. Okay, and Yolanda says, wow, all these astrologers in one place. Okay, great. Please continue to send in your questions for this live Q&A. We're going to officially begin. I want to welcome each and every one of you, and thank you so much for being a part of this event. We have almost 12,000 people as a part of this entire summit, and it is just such an honor to be here holding this space with you and facilitating this conversation. So today is day 1, as you know, and if you have any questions about how the event is run, where to access things, how long things are available, any logistical questions, please email us at support@astrologyhub.com. We have the 18 angels standing by and ready to answer your questions. So please, again, support@astrologyhub.com, or you can chat any questions in here as well. We'll be monitoring that the whole time. This is your opportunity to ask your questions. So the summit this year, we're doing a new format where we have the pre-recorded interviews. We spent I think it was about 2.5 months recording all the interviews, and we wanted to make sure that each talk was full of amazing content. So we did all the interviews over a couple months. We've had time to edit them and make sure that they're really, really well done and polished for you. And then this aspect is new this year, this live component. Normally the summits are all pre-recorded, but this year I really love the live element and the ability for us to come together as a community and to ask questions and to laugh and to be inspired by each other. So this live Q&A panel that we're going to be hosting each day is new to the summit this year. I am so grateful that all of you are here and participating, and we are very excited to answer all your questions. All right, so for those of you who are new to Astrology Hub, I know there's some of you out there that this is your first event. Welcome. It's great to have you here. We are a community that is dedicated to making quality astrology and astrologers accessible, applicable, and fun. So taking something that can be sometimes very complex and abstract and making sure that you are able to use it in your day-to-day life to be more aligned with your purpose, to feel more connected to yourself and others. And that really is one of the main things that we are the most passionate about, is helping people realize how connected they really are, how connected they are to themselves, how connected they are to each other, how connected we all are to the universe and everything around us. So that is one of the main missions of Astrology Hub. And again, welcome to this community, and I hope that you love this event and that we get to hear from you in the chat. All right, so let's see. Just a few more logistical reminders before we dive into the Q&A panel. The summit is live from September 23rd, which is today, to the 29th. Live meaning every single day you're going to receive an email that gives you access to 3 or 4 different talks. You have access to those talks for free for 48 hours. So if you can watch all of them, like some of you have already done, that's amazing. That's great, and you will get so much out of it. If you can only catch 1 talk a day or even a portion of a talk, I know that you're going to glean some amazing gifts from those. So any time that you can make for it, this is not to make you feel overwhelmed. It's just our opportunity to give you this bounty of gifts from all of these different speakers. So just take what you can, know that you're going to get what you need to get, and you can just let the rest of it go. If you can join us live for the Q&A panels every day, that would be fantastic. Again, these will be recorded and available for 48 hours as well. So once this is over, it's going to be available for you to watch for 48 hours, so you can come back and revisit. And if there's any days this week that you have to miss, you'll know that this Q&A panel will be recorded. Okay, if you haven't registered yet, if you are seeing this on Facebook and you are not yet a part of this event, you can still register. It's not too late. The link to do so is in the chat and also in the description of the video. That will ensure that you get alerted every day of the talks that are available. It'll give you an opportunity to watch those talks. And again, everything is free. So please register, and it's not too late to invite your friends either. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. I wanna introduce our panel today. We have Meru Matu. Can you just wave? Yes, okay. Carolyn Elliott, Rick Levine, and Jennifer Sodini, and I'm gonna let them introduce you. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Can we start with you? Just go ahead and give a quick intro, who you are, what you do, and maybe a brief what your talk is about.
Me?
No, Meru.
Oh.
You're
Yeah. It cut out right when you said the name, so I don't think any of us were really sure who you said. Yeah, my name is Meru Matu. I am a quantum astrologer. I also do starseed, DNA, and lineage identification. I have a YouTube channel as well as a subscription-based channel, and also an astrology-based clothing line that's called Pimp My Matrix. And so if any of you out there want some astrology swag, that's definitely the key to that. But what I do is just elevate the consciousness, really bring awareness to the self, and educate on how to make astrology a part of your daily life practice, and just keeping the forward momentum of everything. So in a nutshell, that's basically who I am and what I do.
Fantastic. Okay, Carolyn, let's go to you.
Hi, my name is Carolyn Elliott. I'm the founder of Witch Magazine. That's badwitch.es is the web address. So the main thing that I do is I teach courses on magic. I have a course that's opening for registration tomorrow on Monday called Influence, the life-altering course on mastering practical magic. And it involves doing a lot of solve and coagula, dissolving shadow patterns and calling in new, beautiful things that we want to happen. If anybody's interested in that, they can join the email list on badwitch.es, and you'll find out all about it.
All right, Carolyn, welcome. It's great to have you. This is the first time Carolyn and Jennifer are being featured in our Astrology Hub community, so it's great to have you both. Rick, how about you?
Well, like my cousin Meru, quantum astrology is very important to me. I published a book 20 years ago, a collection of essays called Quantum Astrology, Essays on the Physics of Metaphysics. I don't necessarily call myself a quantum astrologer. I don't even call myself an astrologer. People say, what do you do for a living? I tell them I'm a wizard. Basically, I facilitate magic. Even though I'm an astrologer by trade, my goal is to help people get a better understanding of where they are in the universe, to empower them, because people are empowered when they know the truth. And that's kind of what I do. I've written a daily horoscope column for 17 years that was featured on Huffington Post, AOL, LA Times, Yahoo.com, millions of readers a day. I just recently retired from that, and people can now find my work on Patreon, patreon.com/Rick Levine, and I'm doing a variety of videos teaching weekly, monthly, chart interpretation classes, and as part of your registration to the summit, you'll receive 4 of my cosmic quickies, which are my weekly zaps of something interesting about astrology. I'm sure there's more, but that's enough.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. I love what you say here, Carolyn. So wizard, much beard. So great. All right, Jennifer, how about you? Uh-oh, I think you're muted.
Can't hear you.
We were hearing her before. I think you're on now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, but can you turn the volume up? Is there a way to turn your volume up? Jennifer is in transit. She's a rock star that she even got here. She just got off a plane. She's in a rental car. So it's amazing that she was even able to join us at all. You there? Uh-oh. Okay. I think we'll let Jennifer introduce herself in a sec. Looks like she's having a little bit of technical difficulties. Okay, everybody. We have some amazing questions coming in already. This is so great. Okay. Oh, Jennifer, you're there. Still can't hear you. Actually, now I can't hear you either, Rick. I don't know if you were trying to talk.
Yeah, Jennifer is muted. Oh, there she is.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you. I apologize in advance, everybody. I just flew into LA and I'm actually broadcasting from my car because I didn't want to miss this. So I thank you all for bearing with me. My name is Jennifer Sodini and I'm the founder of evolveandascend.com. It's an online magazine which explores ancient wisdom for the modern world. When I started it, our kind of elevator pitch was where the Library of Alexandria meets Andy Warhol's factory. So we really incorporate a lot of art and culture into our exploration of consciousness and esoteric philosophy. I've been able to read oracle cards since I was 8 years old. I learned from my grandmother, and intuition's been a really big part of my life, in particular dreams. So, and my talk on the summit, we talk about decoding dream language, and as my free offering, I offer an ebook free download on how to tap into your intuition. I'm also the author of a forthcoming book called Amenti Oracle Featherheart, which is an oracle card deck series exploring the 42 ideals of Ma'at and how to live with a light heart in today's day and age.
All right. Well, welcome and thank you so much for juggling and being here with us right now. We appreciate it. And you guys, we have some great questions already. This is so fun. Okay. All right. Let's start with this question from Meru. How can we change our perception and not just keep playing out destructive patterns?
Oh, that's a good one, because it's so easy to play out your destructive patterns, isn't it? Especially whenever the astrology in the sky is looking the way that it is presently at this exact moment. So it is as simple as allowing yourself to really be aware of the state that you're in, and then treating yourself to actually doing the hemi-syncing and putting yourself in a better state, because that's what it is. Whenever we get caught off guard by all of these emotions that are overwhelming and that triggers those deep unconscious fears to come basically raging out, it can be really hard to give yourself the allowance to feel better. That's actually one of the steps that we have to practice. So for me, astrology really helps to explain, like, for instance, this particular time, as I mentioned, it's really kind of chaotic. It is pulling out these unconscious fears. It is unknown territory. It's spontaneous. And these aren't the kind of transits that create true everlasting bonds. Like right now, we're really learning how to let go. Today's the day before the full moon in Aries conjunct to Chiron, right? So this is an appropriate question. Yes, we have to literally love ourselves enough to give ourselves the permission to balance out. And I would also love to segue into Jennifer, if I can actually do that, because she mentioned the 42 universal laws of Ma'at. And that is one of the key foundations, is to weigh everything, your heart, heavy as a stone or light as a feather, that really high Libra archetype, as we just move the Sun and Mercury into Libra. And this is a huge part of it, loving yourself. Those 42 universal laws are something that I bring into everything, because that's where it begins. You have to love yourself, talk good to yourself. You can't strike out against yourself. And whenever we're in these states of extreme discomfort, that's so easy to do. So the guiding light really does have to do with what I would love to hear from Jennifer, if that's okay.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Do you want to speak to us, Jennifer?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So ironically, I had always kind of been fascinated with Egypt my entire life, but Ma'at came to me in a dream before I had read the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I had a dream where basically I was shown that all that matters in this life is that our heart is as light as a feather. So in exploring that concept and how to kind of bring that into your daily life, it's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all model, right? And the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they talk about 42 being the answer to the universe. And actually in programming language, 42 equates to the asterisk, which can be everything and nothing. So I think that in looking at, you know, living with a light heart and keeping in that ideology as this like age-old wisdom to apply to your life, it's really important to kind of tune into what works for you, because it is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all model, but there are different ways to get there. And astrology and like finding where you relate in that is definitely a good tool to kind of open up to exploring that more.
I have a question for all of you. When we talk about having a light heart, is that speaking more specifically to the things we do or our perception of the things we do? Is it more about, because sometimes it brings up the kind of, well, I had the 13 years of Catholic school programming. So sometimes it's like that perfectionist kind of critical of self thing happens. Is it more forgiving ourselves and accepting and loving ourselves, or is it like we need to do really good deeds? I think I probably know the answer to that. Go ahead.
Yes, both.
Okay.
You know,
So,
I think that there is a connection between the physical and the metaphysical being the past and the what we've learned and the what we think and the actions that we perform. People sometimes get confused, and I think that you know, karma means that there's no free will, that, you know, what you've done in the past now is what's happening, and that's only half of karma, because what you do today creates karma for tomorrow. And so we can't change everything all at once, but you can't deal with one side of that equation without the other. It's not an either or, it's a both and.
perfect. Anyone else want to address that?
I would love to. Yeah, you know, whenever we have these emotions, we're going through situations and we're deciding what we're going to do, we really do have a weight that gets put on us, like a heavy sensation, this anxiety, depression, anger, resentment, fear, all these things. It really does actually equate to a weight. And that's the balance, that's the scales of justice, right? And blind justice, discernment. Because there's this social, cultural obligation that we feel like we're under to do certain things that don't weigh light on our soul or our heart. And so whenever I'm working with people, I'm always letting them know, weigh that on the balance. If your heart is light, it's because it feels good. You know, whenever you're in that state of resonance, you're in love or you're happy, you just got a job and it's like what you really want to do. You feel light. You feel like you could fly. You feel like you need to go run around the block 10 times. And so that's really what it's about, because sometimes doing the right thing is going to make you have a strong emotional reaction to it. But if you're heavy, it's because there's something that's not quite right within you and your soul and what you really know that you are in alignment with. So when we're not in alignment, we're going to feel that as heavy pressure and weight. And that's what it is. You know, the scales of justice, heart heavy as a stone or light as a feather, is saying you have absolved yourself of the continuation of things that weigh you down, and that you have practiced freedom despite any sort of rules or restrictions that have been placed on society before we even came around.
So since everything that you just said, or much of what you just said, used saturnine words, heavy, weight, responsibility, obligation, I'm curious as to what Carolyn has to add to this because of her dance with existential, kinky Saturn.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, Meru and Rick and Jennifer, everybody. So what I like, I hear totally the point about the importance of light heart. I grew up with that too, the Gnostic teachings and the Egyptian teachings. And for me, I've been very troubled in my life seeing the kind of the sad atmosphere that society can get to, and some major challenges with abuse and scary things in my own life. And for me, when I think of having a light heart and a strong, clear vibration, it has a lot to do with seeing life as a kind of play, a game, that we as spiritual beings are participating in, but not just any game, a really freaky, edgy, intense, kinky game. As in, life isn't always bowls of cherries, but I don't know about you, I can enjoy whips and chains as much as I can enjoy cherries. And it has to do with finding a way to let myself savor and appreciate the intense times, the things that can feel like constrictions or bondage, the things that can feel like scarcity and density. And there can be both a grief there, a deep grief, and also deep hedonistic enjoyment, even of these scary, intense things. So I see the personal and collective as fully intertwined. And I think many folks here would agree with me. Consciousness is evolving. And I don't always have the answers to what exactly to do about the difficult political situation, but I do know that in our own hearts, when we give ourselves the freedom of when we give ourselves the freedom of enjoyment, even of those scary things, we open up more freedom and more enjoyment for everyone.
Wow, this is fun. Thank you so much. I'm loving your different perspectives, and it's just adding so much to so much food for thought for all of us. Okay, let's go to Rick Levine. Sam asks, why do you think it's important for astrologers to have a spiritual practice?
I want to say, if it's not obvious, make it obvious. We can only, as human beings, acknowledge a place in someone else if we can create that place in our own individual lives. I sometimes teach other astrologers that the most important things that happen during a consultation often happen in moments of extended silence. Now, this is not my idea. This goes back through all spiritual teachings, to the dawn of time. Oftentimes, we're too fast to throw words around something, to astrologize it. I had a client a number of years ago who said that she would never get another reading again for 20 years, didn't, because an astrologer, a famous astrologer that we probably all know the name of, it's not my place to reveal, she had said to the astrologer, well, yes, in 1972 or whatever the date was, a drunk driver came up over my curb and I watched that car hit my 3-year-old son and it killed him. And the astrologer said, oh, that was Pluto conjuncting your natal moon. Oh. No, that was the death of someone's child. So I think the key here is that if we don't have a place where we can feel the emptiness, feel the silence, go to a place of compassion, have some spiritual groundedness in it all, there is no way that we're going to instill that in anyone else. Short answer.
Very nice. And this would be true for anyone who does any sort of work with other people.
Absolutely. Certainly not just astrology. I mean, look, astrology works. It's very useful, but it's an amazing crutch. And I know people who don't need to look at a chart because after all of my circles and arrows and calculations, I know people who can look at someone and get to the same thing just by pulling it off the airwaves. I love astrology because it's a reliable crutch.
Very good. Okay, thank you, Rick. Jennifer, a question that came in: what are your best practices for keeping a dream journal? Oh.
So, the most important thing that you can do, in my own experience, is
Jennifer, is there any way to increase the volume, or is it just me?
No, it's hard.
Okay.
you guys hear me okay?
Pretty faint.
Jennifer, hold the microphone a little bit closer to your mouth and speak clearly, because you got a microphone, I think, on your headphone.
You guys hear me?
Okay, still a little bit faint. Maybe I'll come back to you if you can work on that. That'd be fantastic. Okay, so Carolyn, how do you use astrology to amplify your shadow work?
Yes, I love this question. So I find it very helpful for myself and for people who are consulting with me, usually my friends. The first place to start would be the Saturn placement. So Saturn is not the only point in a chart that can indicate shadowy, unconscious blocks or restrictions, but I do think it's the place to start. There's also Pluto and Chiron and all the aspects and various things, but Saturn tends to represent a place where we have inhibitions and a sense of insecurity, a sense of tightness somehow. So that's the place I start with, looking at the natal Saturn and what might be aspecting it, and also what Saturn transits are currently happening.
Okay, would Meru or Rick or Jennifer like to add to that? So astrology and shadow work?
The shadow is where the magic happens. Magic occurs in the dark. The sun is wonderful. We get to see all the colors, all the beautiful flowers, but it's in the shadow, it's in the dark, which is where the real magic occurs. That's where conception occurs. That's where Pluto does its work. Pluto does his work in the dark. It is whether it's the Egyptian Book of the Dead or the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the ancients knew that the magic occurred not during life, but during the emptiness between death and rebirth. That's where the transformations, that's where the metamorphosis is. The caterpillar becomes the butterfly in the dark. If you open up the chrysalis while it's in motion, it kills it. It stops. And so whether you're talking about Jung or James Hillman or any of the ancient spiritual traditions, modern psychology agrees that the unconscious, and I think Hillman was very brilliant in pointing out that what we call the unconscious is actually the hell realms. This is William Blake that said that hell is a place so beautiful it would torment an angel to insanity. We're talking about not the light and easy stuff that we learn that we're supposed to ascend to. I think Jennifer or Carolyn, I'm sorry, I don't remember which one of you, was talking, maybe it was before we went live, about the rituals of incarnating the planets. One of the problems that we have as astrologers is that we buy into the Catholic perception of ascension. We have to go upward. All this new age stuff of going upward, reaching the planets, becoming more cosmic. Bullshit. That's only half of the deal. The other half of the deal is pulling the energies in. This is Thomas More, the guy who wrote all the soul books and who edited James Hillman's Blue Fire, James Hillman's work. Thomas More's first book before his soul books was a book called The Planets Within, The Astrological Psychology of Marsilio Ficino, and it talks about needing to do this inner work, bringing the planets inside ourselves rather than always reaching upward to ascend.
How many of you can resonate with that perspective? Because actually we have a question that came in about ascension specifically, but how many of you can resonate with the idea that we're both expanding and grounding in? It's kind of like this dual process. I always think about it as anchoring heaven on earth.
I love that. Yeah, I always think about the hard part to me is not ascending. Right. The hard part is incarnating to begin with, fully incarnating in all the muck and the grime.
Yes.
You know, it's also these days very relevant because this is a male-female issue. And I don't mean sex, gender. I mean energetically, because in the Neoplatonic concept, ascension is male. It's fire and air. It's Buddhism. It's reaching upward. It's going to the top of the mountain, whereas earth and water, which are feminine energies, is soul. There is a difference between spirit and soul. Spirit ascends, that's fire and air, it's masculine, and soul descends, it's New Orleans. It's down in the dirt, down in the mud, it's in the body, it's and it's feminine because it's water and earth. And so we have this cultural bias that up is good and down is bad. Wrong answer.
I really agree, because it's beyond a gendered thing, right? If you look at masculine and feminine energies beyond their elemental qualities, it's what is masculine consciousness? It's more linear thinking, it's logic, it's science, it's time in a linear fashion, so from like beginning to end. Feminine consciousness is intuition, creativity, maternal energy. So finding synthesis is so important, right? Because we have both hemispheres of the brain. We are ascending and grounding. If there's no balance, if the heart and the feather, you know, it's about balancing both, because either way, you're either up in the clouds or way down to the bottom of it. It's good to just stay somewhere in the middle path, right?
It's also the right brain, left brain. Astrology is like the corpus callosum. It's neither science nor art. It's neither masculine, feminine, yin, yang, spirit, or soul. It's the connective tissue. And I totally agree with Jennifer. It's like you can't pick and choose. You can't just take the light and bright and easy stuff and think that this is the way through.
Okay, so can I ask a question? Because in my experience, it's been almost like a ping pong experience. So growing up, it was very young focused, productivity focused, left brain focused. Then I went through a quote unquote awakening with the birth of my first daughter. Then it became very much about, okay, what is the right brain? What is the feminine? Like, how do I embody and embrace that? And so it was almost like a necessary ping pong so that each one could be experienced fully. And then now the task is to integrate them as much as possible. But I had to like experience the extremes of both. Do you find that to be true for most people?
Completely. Manly P. Hall has this brilliant quote that says, experiences are the chemicals with which the philosopher experiments, right? So it isn't until you have that direct experience that you can really look at it and understand it and come into a relationship with it, right? And I love the most feared card, right, in the tarot is the devil. And it's like this big scary beast, and you have the man and the woman on the bottom, and they both have the chains around their neck. But when you look so close, you can see that the chains are actually loose and they can let go of them at any time. So it's a really good analogy for like letting go of fear and understanding these parts of ourselves, our deep, deep, deep abyss of the psyche, and then finding liberation from that.
Very good. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. This is so good, you guys. Thank you so much. I'm just enjoying every second and want to get as many questions answered as possible. So Jim says, I tend to be, this is for Carolyn. I tend to be over serious and obsessed with working on wounds, all work and no play. Any advice?
Yes, I'm very familiar with that. So one, of course, it's always fine, I think, to go on a marathon of binge watching comedies on Netflix and hanging out with friends and just lightening up everything. I kind of have this consistent thing with me where I want everyone to know that it's okay to wallow in your wounds. It's okay. We really savor them. We humans love to feel terrible. And it's not giving full permission to that love of feeling terrible that holds us back when we think to ourselves, oh God, I shouldn't want to feel this way. This is awful. Why would I want my life to be like this? That's, whatever we resist persists. So something that I find very helpful is to be like, you know what? I am so miserable right now. And it's great. Like I always think of the scene in the Addams Family where Gomez says to Morticia, my darling, are you unhappy? And she says, yes, completely. And it's that yes, completely that tends to move things forward.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else want to address that?
Terence McKenna said that levity is the opposite of gravity.
Very nice. Anyone else want to address? I've also noticed that sometimes it seems like, you know, we can be doing shadow work forever. It's just, and maybe we can, but there's also where is the joy and the lightness.
And this is a lesson of this time of year, the equinox. We have 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark. The metaphor of the light and darkness of seasons. I mean, astrology isn't just about knowing your signs and charts. The natural astrology reminds us that over the course of the entire year, there is the same amount of light and dark. Even though in the summer it seems all light and not very dark, and in the winter it seems all dark and not very light, and it's only on the equinoxes do we get those days where there's an equal amount. But over the course of a year, over the course of a life, it's important that we find balance between the two.
Very nice. Okay, I'm just going to take one moment for those of you who have joined in later to remind you, if you haven't registered for this event, you can still do so. It's our 3rd annual Astrology Summit, and this year's theme is raising consciousness and deepening your spiritual path. So you are welcome to join. The event is free, and we would love to have you. Each day we have 3 or 4 different astrologers, scientists, and spiritual leaders who we have taken the last couple months to record very amazing talks with them. You'll see all the talk descriptions on the registration page. And so every day you'll have access to 3 or 4 new talks. You'll have 48 hours to listen to those talks for free. Every day this week, we're doing a live Q&A panel with the featured speakers of that day. So just like today, you'll be able to pop on with the speakers of that day and ask your questions. So we'd love to have you. It's not too late to join. The event just started today and it goes through Saturday. And if you have questions about the event, you can put them in the chat. If you know already that you love this content, you love these kinds of talks, but you're not going to have enough time to watch everything, you will have an opportunity to upgrade. So lots of information about that too after you register. And when you upgrade, that means you will get lifetime access to the videos, the audios, the transcripts, all the bonus gifts, which are amazing in and of themselves, worth the $97 just for the bonus gifts. So if you're interested, you'll see lots of different places where that information is about the upgrade package as well. Okay, let's go to a question for Jennifer. Jennifer, what are your best practices for keeping a dream journal? This is the one we tried to do earlier. And I just wanted to mention for those of you who are new, Jennifer has joined us. She is in transit from the airport to her rental car. She is such a rock star for even being here with us. Had to juggle a lot just to make it live. So thank you, Jennifer, and go ahead.
Thank you. So my best piece of advice for dream journaling is to keep your dream journal right by your bed. And as soon as you get up in the morning, write. Because these energies are very ephemeral. You know, when you have a vivid dream, you could have, when you first wake up, it's also fresh, but then throughout the course of the day, it starts to dissipate and go away. You go, oh my God, I think I got a piece of wisdom and I can't remember it. But keeping the dream journal by your bed and getting into practice of writing as soon as you wake up is the most effective way to really track it. And then you'll start paying attention more and more. Synchronicities will present themselves. It's almost like keeping a magical record. I mean, it is pretty much your magical record, but first thing in the morning, keep it by your bed.
Very nice. Anyone else on the panel work with dreams and have any tips to lend to the audience?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I love drinking mugwort tea before bed. That always helps me have more vivid dreams. Reishi, also reishi mushroom tea. And I love telling myself this little mantra as I'm falling asleep. I forget where I got it. It might have been from a Mark Stavish book, but it's tonight I will dream. I will know that I am dreaming. And when I wake, I will remember my dreams. And just saying that as I fall asleep and reaching for my journal, just like Jen said, as soon as I wake up.
I have something to share with dreams. Whenever I'm going to sleep, I actually work on relaxing each and every part of my body. And it has, over time, allowed me to consciously step into my dream world. It's almost like behind my eyelids, you know, you see a lot of light, especially if you're in alpha brainwaves whenever your eyes are closed. And if you're practicing this, you actually get the three-dimensional world open up behind your closed eyes as if they were open. And whenever you can get to that stage of relaxation and this kind of in-between world of conscious and unconscious, you can literally step into the dream world with the ability to use the thinking processes without waking yourself up. And in that state, then you're lucid and you can do whatever you really like, fly or anything else. But it also does assist with maintaining the memory of what your dream was, because you were as aware as you are in this world. So then the key would definitely be to write it down, but it does stick with you a whole lot more. And I found that as I'm going to sleep with that, intention and vibration, as I get tired, my dreams start to come back to me, almost like whenever you wake up in the morning and your life starts to come back to you and you remember, oh, I have this or that to do today. I always start to pick up with the night before's dreams coming back as a memory that I'm almost going back to that life, if that makes sense. But that has to do with just literally every part of your body, starting with your scalp. Relax my scalp, relax my forehead, relax my eyebrows, my eyelids, and just working your way down. And this will naturally start to open up to you.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right. And just real quick, what about for people that don't remember their dreams? What do you say to them?
Mugwort tea, as Carolyn mentioned, that's one of the absolute keys to everything whenever it comes to dreams and setting your attention. But I definitely agree with her big time.
Okay. All right. Here is a question for any of you. BB2, I'm not sure your name, but has asked, how has entering the age of Aquarius and leaving Pisces affected humanity?
Yeah, I'd like to jump in and say that we don't know when we're leaving one age and going to the next. We're talking about a 2,200 year cycle, and it's hard to know when a transition occurs if you don't know when the cycle begins. And there are many different people. There are cases to be made that the age of Aquarius began with the discovery of the New World and the Declaration of Independence, that was an Aquarian event. There are many people who say that the age of Aquarius won't begin until the year 2200. We're definitely in a transition. If you look back, and just very briefly, the ages are determined by the wobble of the Earth. If you spin a top, as it slows down, it's spinning this way, but it wobbles backwards until it falls over. And the Earth, like a spinning top, wobbles backwards on its axis, and one wobble takes about 25,000 years, which means that the seasons are determined by the angle of the Earth, which means that for about 2,000 years at a time, the age that we're in is determined by the direction of the pointing of the North Pole, or actually what's ascending at springtime during that epoch. And it's very interesting because we can look back to the age of Taurus and the worship of cows, of the bovine Taurian energy, Hinduism, and the Egyptians, that this came about the time that we were in the age of Taurus. And prior to that was the age of Gemini, when we began agriculture. And then after that, we had prior to that, we had the age of Aries, which was not the Taurus energy, but the Mars energy. This was the fire, god, the Paschal Lamb, the angry Judaic god. And then after that, as we move backward into the age of Pisces, then we have the fish swimming opposite, the division of the loaves, and the idea that spirituality is reserved only for the initiated. And I think that in the age of Aquarius, that certainly will be available to all. We're seeing tinges of it. Whether we're there yet or not, I don't know. But let's not forget that Borg is also an Aquarian concept. It's universal consciousness where everything is the same. Ant societies, insect societies are very Aquarian. So it's not all just love, peace, and beads, and unicorns, and rainbows.
Great. Thank you so much, Rick. Anyone else want to address that? I mean, he did a very thorough job.
He really did. It's an actual frustrating kind of topic for those who practice astrology because, like he said, there is no absolute for where it is. And it's fascinating because everything is so calculated. We know where we are, but we essentially also don't. And whenever we look at charts like the draconic chart, we can see where people have incarnated.
Explain what a draconic chart is for people.
Absolutely. So the draconic chart is a view from the oversoul's perspective. Before you incarnated, you're leveling up your character. What are the attributes that you want your avatar to play out? And also, where did you come from in a past incarnation? So it's based off of the north and the south node. Wherever your north node is in your chart, it will actually move it to 0 degrees of Aries, your south node 0 degrees of Libra. And so it doesn't change the aspects within your chart or the house placements, but it does change the signs as well as the degrees. And from an esoteric astrology perspective, we can take a look at Pluto and see, based off of that, what prior age did you incarnate through? So if you are Pluto in Virgo, it means that you incarnated during the age of Virgo. And from this, we can actually see whenever people are from the future and have incarnated into the past, which I think is very fascinating. But it's always such an interesting topic whenever somebody has Pluto in Pisces or Aquarius, because it's like, it's kind of that moment. But we see a lot of, people incarnate based off of processional changes. So I see a lot of people who have Pluto in Leo actually have Pluto in Aquarius. And this is random, right? There is no per se that's going to happen. I just tend to attract those people. And it's like our souls have missions. And from a starseed perspective, we do go to different, dimensions and galaxies and universes alike to usher in new energy, to bring new concepts, to bring technology, to do all these different things that the ages have evolved through. And so from looking at it in that, I believe that if you are an activated, awakened being, whether you're aware of your starseed origins or not, you have chosen to come here to usher in a new age. And that's why we attach to this spiritual journey and becoming a way shower and shining the light and coming up with these new expressions that are not necessarily new, right? This new age is actually our ancient wisdom and knowledge being remembered and brought back by us now. And so the age of Pisces was the separation of East and West, of Buddha and Christ, of the higher and the lower mind. So we're going to end up in the age of Aquarius whenever we accept that we are free, that we don't have to be bound by chains to the past any longer, that we can be authentically and vibrantly ourselves, and that we release so much of the fear that has come with, again, those social cultural conditions that we feel like we are obligated to abide by. That's the age of Pisces.
Meru said something you said something really interesting just now that I think maybe just slid right between the cracks. And you just casually said, well, maybe, some people who incarnate from the future back into the past. And this is a real bug of mine because so many people look at the reincarnational cycle as a linear cycle. People talk. People do past life regression rather than post life progression. I mean, future life progression. There's this idea that we were this and then we were that and then we were this and now we're here. And that's crap, because every mystical tradition across the planet or around the planet acknowledges that linear time is a function of the medulla oblongata. It's the reptilian brain that gives us this illusion of beginning, middle, and end. And that once we are incarnated. Once we drop our body, once we pass through that gate of Saturn and into the realms of death, there is no past, present, and future. Everything that ever was and everything that ever will be is right now. And so I just want to pick up, it was beauty to my ears to hear someone say that, because so many people live in this illusion that that the past lives lead to the present life, and that's just not the way it is.
Thank you for bringing that in. Guys, this is, again, I think we should just keep going for hours and hours. Okay, so there's a couple questions here that are more general, but I think all three of you could probably answer this. And I think Jennifer dropped for some reason. I know, again, everybody, she was in transit as she's traveling. So this question is, what's the most concise way to explain astrology to the layperson? So, someone says, what is astrology anyway? How would you explain it to them? Concisely.
I'll go last on this one.
Okay.
Well, it can be a challenge. I think I always start with the idea of as above, so below. There's correspondences between the orbits of the planets and what a little atom looks like. There's, anyways, I was just starting to think about the challenge of getting somebody to accept Hermetic philosophy, period, before giving them astrology. But anyways, if somebody can intuitively get down with that idea of as above, so below, as within, so without, then I think it's pretty easy to explain astrology to them. If they have resistances to that idea, it can be quite a challenge. Maybe others have more insight.
Yeah, it's always exciting. And, I do have to answer this question often because I'm an Uber lover. I Uber. I'm not a fan of driving. And so everybody likes to ask you, oh, what do you do? And, I'm an astrologer. Oh, is that like the horoscopes in the newspapers? And it's like, yeah, no. So what it is just like your sun sign, every planet in the sky actually has an effect on who you are. And it's all based off of the time that you came in, the location, and what your soul's path is. And me, I'm not a sugarcoater. I'm not one of those people that puts a lot of stock in whether somebody agrees with me or not, or shares philosophies, or if they believe me or not. So my main point is that I don't try to convince anybody. If they're interested enough to ask that question, then it's kind of something that they're open to. But most definitely, if you would really like to set the tone for them, astrology is a deeper look at who you are and how your life is played out. It is the ability to take power into your own hands and realize that you have not been a victim in this incarnation, that everything that you've been through has been a lesson and it's been predetermined based off of time, and that you literally chose to come here to experience these things in this format so that your soul could evolve. And as immortal, eternal beings, I like to say we must be bored AF to really do this to ourselves, right? So we came here to experience all of it. And that's basically, how I get into it. And I tell you, it's always an incredibly interesting Uber ride. And I do want to mention one thing, if I can, really quick, because I see people are asking about the draconic chart in the chat. And not all astrologers do that reading. I personally do. I'm sure Rick does. But it's usually listed on each astrologer's website, the different types of charts that they use. I do consultations, and it's listed in my consultation services. So yes, some of us do, not all of us.
Perfect. Okay, Rick, do you want to address it?
Well, yes, I think that if we want to know what astrology is, we need to start off with the word, and it's astrologos, and people don't understand the word logos, or the logy part of astrology, because to people, logos is often the logic. It's like but it isn't logic as we think of it in the modern world. In fact, in the Aramaic text of the Bible, in the beginning, it was not the word, and the word it was logos. And often you see this in Christian literature. Logos is a word that utters something that is vibrational, that brings what was metaphysical into being. So logos actually is the process of manifestation from metaphysical to physical. And astrologos is basically the role that the stars have in that. Now, there are, I could wax a long time on the scientific potentials of how astrology works and the mechanisms and so on. And I know Meru can also. The fact of the matter is that astrology to me is a study of correspondences. Carolyn said it excellently, and I was very pleased she added the second part, but left out the third part. It's actually of the Emerald Tablet, which is as above, so below. And it's not, it's basically the within of things is as the without of things. This does not mean that what's up there creates what's down here. What it means is that what's up there and what's on the very tiny level are in constant harmony with each other. And we're vibrating at kind of this midpoint of the macrocosm and the microcosm. That those things that occur at the microcosmic level, including the oddities of particle wave duality and of what we call quantum physics, those things which have been studied by science at the microcosmic level, the weird distortions of time and space and particle and wave occur at the macrocosmic level. Astrology is simply a tool. It's not the tool, it's a tool that enables us to see where we are in the particle wave soup from the microcosm to the macrocosm, and we in the middle cosm, in the mesocosm, actually dance to these musics that we hear without actually hearing them through our ears.
Very nice. All right, thanks so much, you guys. That was just yummy. Okay, so there are, I cannot tell you how many amazing questions have come in, you guys. I'm gonna do my best to end with one that will address, that will give you each a chance to address it. And the reason why I'm gonna choose this one is because I feel like it's a theme throughout the entire summit, is this question of free will versus fate. And is it written or are we creating it? Is it somewhere in between? So I want to ask this question from Susan, who says, how does everything happening at once relate to free will? So I think either address that question directly and or address the question about, is it fate? Is it free will? How do we make sense of that?
Oh, I'll go.
Okay.
To me, it's absolutely simultaneously both at once, which is, it's a paradox. And the way that I like to navigate that paradox is with a quote from Carl Jung, who said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate." And astrology is an amazing tool for making the unconscious conscious. So basically, working to have that stuff be conscious so that whatever my fate may have been, I can paradoxically work with it and bring fresh things into being. And also, I love the idea of amor fati, which Nietzsche talked about. It means the love of one's fate. And for me, that has involved, I like to think of that in terms usually of my past, my childhood. There were things about it that were very, very painful. But the more that I can embrace and totally love exactly this particular life, exactly this particular body with its aches and its chubbiness and everything that's going on, the precise thing right here, that's also when paradoxically more freedom seems to open up.
Who wants to go next?
I want to go last.
Me
That
too.
means you're next, Rick.
Me too. I want to go last too. I'll go next to last.
Okay.
In the spirit of cooperation.
Thank you.
All right. I want to open with the closing concept of a lecture that I gave in Calcutta earlier this year that actually won me the title of International Astrologer of the Year from this amazing conference sponsored by the Krishnamurti Institute for Vedic Studies in Kolkata. The punchline, my talk was a quantum perspective on fate versus free will. And my punchline, which I'll save the, excuse me, the lecture is available on YouTube. The punchline is this: particle is to wave. We know about the particle wave duality. It appears that light travels and electromagnetic energy travels as a wave, but when we measure it at the moment of perception, the quantum wave function particularizes it, pops, and that popping of that function creates a particle. Particle is to wave as fate is to free will. Period. End. Okay, it's really just the beginning. The concept is this, that you cannot measure particle and wave at the same time. In fact, Werner Heisenberg was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics for his what's called the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which sounds like it's fuzzy, we don't know what's going on, things are uncertain. But there was a mathematical relationship that at any given moment, the more we know about the particleness, the less we know about the waveness of in the subatomic world. That if we know where something is, we don't know where it's going, and if we know where it's going, we don't know where it is. It's an either-or proposition that is in ratio, so the more we know about one, the less we know about the other. That same holds true with fate and free will. It obviously, as Carolyn said, they are simultaneous. It is a paradox, but it's not hard to understand how can something be a particle and a wave. It's easy. Go look at the full moon tonight or tomorrow. It's a particle. I mean, it's a huge particle, but it's a particle. When you're not looking at it, it's a 13 cycle per year wave. It's that simple. It's that simple. And so the idea is that fate and free will are both operative. There are certain types of fates. The Greek called one of them hamarmene, which is the fate that you can't control. If you drop a wrench, it's going to hit the ground. Gravity is not just a good idea. It's the law. That's fate that you can't control. Then there's the fate of agnoia, the fate of not knowing, gnosis knowing, agnoia without knowledge. That's if you're driving your car and your eyes are closed and you drive off a cliff. That was your fate, but it was your fate because you didn't know. It was ignorance. And then the third type of fate is pronoia, the title of a book by our cohort, Rob Brezhny. Pronoia is basically what we call co-creating the future. It's not just knowing, it's using logos to speak the right words to help manifest, to assist the production of reality from metaphysical invisibleness into three-dimensionalness. And this is where free will comes in. If you know to say the right thing at the right time, and I don't mean just giving it words, but my friend Caroline Casey once said that the gods don't speak English. They don't even speak Spanish, she said. They speak ritual. So we need to use this logos to actually prime the pump, to actually not only saying our intent. That's great. It's a good idea. The secret and all that. Make your intent known verbally. But it's the vocalization that's actually bringing things into the three-dimensional world, and you have to follow through with ritual. You have to basically do things to help that manifestation. So I can't change the karma that has been already set into motion. Well, maybe I can sometimes, but that's another story. The fact of the matter is that at every single moment of my breathing life, I make choices, and it's those choices that I make that are my free will that create the karma for tomorrow, next year, next lifetime, etc. Meru, give it a close.
Thank you. And, you know, This is a great display of why quantum astrology is such a profound application to life, because exactly what Rick just said, and thank you, Carolyn, for all of your shares. It's fantastic to meet you as well.
Yes.
This world is quantum in nature, and everything is waves waiting for an observer to collapse them and see reality that we call physical. But you know, for each and every single person who collapses a wave, they're going to see something different. So your perception of free will and your perception of fate, this plays a massive factor in all of it. And, you know, what Rick was talking about is that, you know, everything's just kind of like existing and coming around. But you, whether we're biological or mechanical, you know, a recorder, recording this wave collapsing into particles, it already knows. It's intuitive. It's perceptive to the future whenever somebody is going to observe that measurement or that, you know, the experiment. And based off of who it knows is going to observe it, it actually gives them the answer in which they can perceive reality through. So it is simultaneous, as Carolyn said. The only moment that exists in existence is now, and it's exactly what Rick said. As within, so without, because everything is only within one single person. We are only one being. I am Rick, Rick is me. I am Carolyn, Carolyn is me. I am Amanda, Amanda is me. We're all, I'm talking to all of you as yourself, speaking to you now.
I am the walrus, goo goo gajoob.
Go, go, gajoob. Exactly. But it's a beautiful thing because your free will is based off of your definition of that, your idea of it, your perception of it. Do you feel that you have free will to become a co-creator with yourself? Because the universe is mental, and as soon as you become creative, you become creator. So that is your overcoming of fate. You've set into motion a script, but just with all freestyles, you can go off script. You know, you can improvise, you can rewrite the Akashic records that are being stored within the fabric of the universe, because you are the fabric of the universe. You can become diseased whenever you fall into a frequency of illness and cancer and all that, or you can come into wellness whenever you rise up into a frequency of health, wealth, and abundance. So everything is based off of you, your acceptance, your determination, your desire, your courage, and your willingness to evolve into becoming the creator that I hope that you know that you are, because you really and truly are. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so, so much, each and every one of you. Meru, Rick, Carolyn, Jennifer, whose phone just completely died on her, so she sends her apologies. But this has been such an incredible wealth of vibration, honestly. I mean, that to me is one of the biggest takeaways, is just this upliftment of the spirit, of the soul, and just feeling into the magic of the universe, which you all do so, so well. So what I would love to do now, before we sign out, if it's okay, I want to be respectful of the speaker's time. I only said an hour, so I'll do this really quickly. But if everyone can just close your eyes for a moment. I feel it's really important before we run off into our days to really just let the energy of this call, the energy of this panel, the energy of this community, the energy of the light that has been shared and transmitted, to wash over us, to sink into our cells, to anchor in our bodies, to feel the frequency, the energy, the aliveness that this creates inside of our bodies. To let that really, really sink in just for a moment here. Just give yourself that gift before you run off. It's like we're lying in Shavasana now. Taking a moment to feel the gratitude for everything that's been shared so generously by this panel. And the gratitude to all of you for showing up with your curiosity, your openness, your enthusiasm. Your energy feeds us just as much as our energy feeds you. And just feeling into, for a moment, the interconnectivity of all of us. We are 12,000 people all across the globe, all excited and ignited just by the potential of what it means to raise consciousness, align more deeply with our spiritual path, to integrate astrology and science and spirituality in a way that always was, but that is time has come again. And before you sign off, I'm going to let the speakers go if you would like to, but I would love to hear from you in the chat. 1 or 2 takeaways that you are going to bring into your life from this call today, from the talk that you heard earlier, and one thing that you can bring into your life, just knowing that this energy that we're sharing benefits every person that we cross on the path today and tomorrow and the next day. So let's, at this moment, just go ahead and take one really deep breath together. All of us joined, whether or not you're listening live or you're listening to the recording, it doesn't matter. As we know, the whole time perception is not real. So just go ahead and exhale your breath. And let's breathe in really deep together here. And breathe out. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes. And please, if you can, chat any takeaway that you are bringing into your life. And Carolyn, Rick, and Meru, thank you so, so much. If you need to jump off, that's fine. I would love to just keep it open so we can hear from the audience a little bit longer. And I also just wanted to do a few reminders that if you are not registered for the event, it's not too late. You can still do that. And when you register, you'll get access to all the talks. So 3 or 4 talks every single day. This is the kickoff. You guys, it couldn't have been a better panel to kick off with. You are amazing. Thank you so much. It's going to be so exciting to see the different blends of energies every day as the different speakers come on for the live Q&A panel. Continue to share. Love this. Adjusting my PGF continually, Meru. Alita says to keep a dream journal. Someone says mugwort. And okay, we are co-creating the future using logos. So fun to see everyone, they're all listening, you guys. Jenny says, my takeaway is how valuable karma is, and thank you, Amanda and Summit team, for paying it forward. Fantastic. Pat says, it's good to know my thinking is not alone. Yes, I see that as one of the biggest benefits of our community coming together and doing these things together. Diane says, dance in the shadows and fall in love with the hand of fate and free will. Claire says, yes, I'm not alone. Fantastic. Okay. Louisa says, courage, strength. This is it. Cosmic says, I choose happy and healthy now, every now. All right. Susan says, this fabulous community and keeping a dream journal. Anna says, I am taking away a precise focus on balance in every present moment. Angelique says, mugwort tea, dream journal, and a reunification with wave and particle teaching, and definitely Meru's breakdown on what astrology is. Thank you. Audrey says, verbalize your intent to yourself. Debbie says, making the invisible visible so we can work with it. Jay Archer says, co-create my life. Forgot that. Thanks for the reminder. Felina says, many takeaways, but one is to remember levity to balance out my gravity. Thanks for that, Rick. And Terrence McKenna, of course. A Pep says, I'll think about what Rick Levine said about the moon being a particle in waves. Okay. Arden says, experiencing you all in community is very powerful. Street Cat says, I was so oblivious before I discovered astrology. Thank you, y'all. Sending love from New Orleans. Christine says, integrity. Miette says, thank you all. It was a beautiful Sunday evening. Kat says, thank you, Amanda and panelists, for sharing your beautiful energy with us. Jim says, this is our modern Woodstock. I love that. Penny says, heart as light as a feather. Oh my gosh, you guys keep doing it. Oh, Carolyn says she's coming back. Fate and free will is the same. Carrie Ann, focusing on constant growth and a quantum perspective as the universe resides within. Thank you all for your diverse energies and insights. We'll continue to appreciate the different aspects. Thank you. Love you, Meru. Oh my gosh. Alexis says, lighthearted and consciously open and aware, lucid dreaming community. Oh, this is beautiful. Thank you so much, everybody. Bojana says, so high vibrations, refreshed, we're in Berlin, Germany. Okay. Erica says, thank you. You are marvelous. Barbara says, I never thought of the scenario that Meru put forward, that we could be from the future and not a reincarnation. New concept for me to think about. Thank you. And thank you, Rick, for like dropping the mic on it, because I think it would have been lost by so many, but you really brought it forth. Thank you so much for doing that. Okay. Rebecca says, I'm taking away that we are the ones that are bridging the seen and unseen. Magical. Yes. It's so fun, you guys, because I got to do all this for the last 2.5, 3 months. And every time I was like, oh my gosh, this is so magical. These are the words that I would always be thinking, magical, magical. And so to hear that you are experiencing the same thing makes me so happy. Okay. Okay, Mercedes says, just jumped in on all the gratitude. Okay, keep it coming, everybody. Thank you, Meru and Rick and Carolyn, for staying here. I don't know if there's any final words you want to say, or just goodbye, or anything else that you want to say before we officially sign off, although I've already done that. Our second or third official sign off.
Thank you so much for joining us and being a part of this collective. It's super important for us just as much as it is for you. And I would love to stay connected with as many people who would like to connect with me. So again, it's Sun Soul Astrology on YouTube, sunsoul.tv. And that is my free gift to all of you out there for this event, which is a free month of subscription. It's promo code ASTRO at checkout. So definitely, if you'd like to follow this quantum perspective and learn more about starseed DNA every single day, you're welcome to join me with that. But I am so grateful, and I feel lit, okay? Like, that's what we call it. I feel lit. Like, Rick and Carolyn and Amanda, you guys are just absolutely high vibing, and I'm going to go run around the block. This is what it feels to feel light in my description. That's heart light as a feather, okay?
And Jennifer was awesome for the limited time that she was here.
Yes.
I would love to hear more of her. And Carolyn, lovely to meet you. And Meru, you know, my sister, cousin, whatever. Yeah, it's been great. And as long as Meru opened the door from my department of crass commercialism, don't forget to go. Don't forget to go to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/Rick Levine to find out about all that I'm doing since I stopped writing 1,200 words a day, 7 days a week. Anyhow, this has been great, Amanda. Thank you for being such a gracious host and for being the light behind this community. You're fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And let me let the cat out of the bag on a few things for those of you who are in the inner circle, Astrology Hub's inner circle, and or thinking about becoming inner circle members. Meru and Rick both will be inner circle guides next year. So I'm like, we haven't even officially announced that, but I'm just letting everyone who's on here right now know.
Oh, that is so exciting. I want to thank everybody. I'm feeling like running around the block too. It's been such a joy to meet Meru and Jennifer and Amanda and Rick. I've been watching your videos for a long time. I have that special celebrity feeling talking to you. I also want to make and offer. My influence course is open for registration just this week. It's only open for registration twice a year. It's on mastering practical magic. It involves working with planetary deities and doing shadow integration. The place to find out about, to get the link to register, would be my website, badwitch.es. You want to just join the email list and you'll get all the information this week. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, and that is one of the things I love here at Astrology Hub, is that we get to introduce you to new voices, new perspectives, and just see who you resonate with, and then you get to like continue going on the path with those people. So I love that we get to be a gateway drug, so to speak, to so many different people that you get to just continue following and working with. So lots and lots of love to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Continue spreading the word. We have 7 total days of this event. It is not over. Even if people join today or tomorrow, they can still catch Rick, Meru, Carolyn, and Jennifer. So please continue to spread the word. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Our call tomorrow is at, oh God, I'm not even going to do it just because I always butcher times when I'm doing this live. So please just look in the emails. Also, hopefully you saved the, okay, hold on. I'm going to take a second to do this and just tell you the right time. How about that? It's tomorrow at 1 o'clock Hawaii, which is 4 o'clock Pacific, which is 7 o'clock Eastern. Okay, so we will have our panelists from tomorrow's talks will all be on with us live, and I can't wait to connect with you again then. If you are an Inner Circle member, submit your questions early. We are able to prioritize your questions, so please do that. Submit your questions via the form underneath the videos as you're going through them. Okay, so much love to all of you. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you once again for making astrology a part of your life. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you.